Recording in
through
progress.
the self-guided open house format to allow you to move around each of the rooms. We've got 6 rooms total. The 6th room is dedicated to our Spanish speak members. So would really encourage you to circulate and instructions up. Dave, you can walk folks through, but we just encourage you to visit all the rooms. There's a lot of need from you, and would love for you to, before you get into those rooms, to fill out not in like you at any of our take a really quick participant polls. Can stay connected to you after tonight and let you know what the feedback was from this open house. Dave, am I listening? Is there anything else that I need to let folks know?
No, that's it. Thank you so much, Peggy. So yeah, as Peggy mentioned, this is a fun activity for all to provide input, maybe unlike an experience you've had before. It's just like if we were all together in person in a room and you had to walk from booth to booth to give your input. It's a choose your own adventure guide here tonight. So as you can see up on the screen, planpetaluma.org, all of the workshop materials are there directly from the homepage that you can access and follow along. There's a guide there that's also on the screen here that will give you a complete guide to all the activities in each one of the rooms and direct links to each of the activities as well. The first thing we'd love for you to do is if you can go to this link that's again in your chat as well, it's hyperlinked. It's tinyurl.com/PGPU sign in. And that's a place just to sign in like you would as you're coming in to sign your name onto a sign-in sheet, just so we can get a sense of who's with us. And then there's also a participant poll at tinyurl.com/PGPU survey. And again, all these links are in the chat right now. You can just click right on them there. And that's a simple demographic poll to get a sense, again, of who's in the room. Same questions we ask at every community event. Most importantly, as you can see in the directions here, is to actually open the Breakout Rooms tab on your navigation bar at the bottom of your screen, and then you can choose any one of the rooms to enter by topic so that you can have a facilitated discussion with folks and give us all your great feedback. We'll be here till 9 o'clock tonight. Obviously, you're welcome to leave whenever you'd like. This is again, choose your adventure, going to any room you'd like and giving any feedback you like, and then leaving when you are done. And we really hope that you have an opportunity to visit all the rooms. As Peggy mentioned, it's everything about the general plan overview, your vision for Petaluma in room 2, guiding principles in room 3, room 4 and 5. We're getting a little bit deeper into discussion areas or areas of change throughout the city. And as Peggy mentioned, room 6 is for our Spanish language speakers. So with that, I'm hoping you're able to navigate. If not, no problem. You could physically raise your hand now and we'll unmute you so that you can tell us where you'd like to go, and or you could use the raise your hand feature, which is again in your toolbar. If you were to click the icon button for emotions, that'll give you an option to let us know with the raise hand moved, and or you could drop them in chat, whatever's easier for you. That
Dave, I'm seeing from one that the links aren't working.
The links are they not working through the chat, or are you typing? I guess I'm trying to figure out which links aren't working. Is the links that go to the surveys?
It might be the links in the chat, but I do see some folks saying that this may be too complex for folks, and I get that, and Zoom's not for everyone. So we will have this exact open house available on the website for folks after the open house, if this format is either if you can't be here to participate, or the Zoom is is too much. So we do have it on the website, theplanpetaluma.org. It will be on the website through mid-October, right, Dave?
That's right. Yep, that's right. Through mid-October. I just wanted to confirm, I do see some people that have moved into the rooms. Do you all see the breakout icon at the bottom of your toolbar where you can pick the room that you'd like to go to? And if you click that and scroll down, you'll see all the different rooms listed, and then you click the join. As you see here, there'll be a little join button to press to move into the rooms.
I'm typing that in right now so everyone can see how to get in there.
Excellent. I do see a bunch of people moving into their rooms, but you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and unmute, or allow you all to unmute yourself, which I know could get a little tricky. And if anyone is having trouble, we can go down the line here. I'm going to start with Lendry. Yourself. If you want to unmute yourself and let us know where you'd like to go, we'll make sure we move into that room.
Okay, room 1. I think I got it though. I can get there.
Yay,
Okay.
thanks, Lendry.
Yeah,
Have fun. Joan
Right.
Cooper, where would you like to move?
Oh, I'm just wondering, are these links, live links that are, it says, welcome to Petaluma General Plan. Can I just click on that?
Yeah,
do I
unfortunately,
copy and
because
paste?
because of the format of Zoom, they can't be hyperlinked on your screen. So
I
if
see.
you were to go into your chat window,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see all the links listed there. The easiest thing would be just simply to go to planpetaluma.org. If you go there, which is the project site, all of these links are hyperlinked directly from that page. So on the home page, you'll click a link and that'll take you directly to this open house guide, and all the links are hyperlinked there.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that's the only way to do it in a Zoom format. It's hard. We can't make it hyperlinked on your screen.
So it's not hyperlinked, and you're saying in chat, I click on it in chat and it will work that way, or I have to actually go out of the Zoom room to my internet and put in planpetaluma.org and have that parallel.
That would probably be the easiest. If you just open up another window on computer and just put in planpetaluma.org, that will be your simplest. And I'm dropping all the links again as well.
I'll try it.
Okay.
Kathy.
Thank you.
And we're happy to move you into rooms right now as well, if that's easier for you. You can come, and you can always take those surveys later. That's another.
Oh, good. Okay, thank you. I would like to go to room 1.
Room 1. Eric, I'll let you go ahead and make that move. Thank you. Susan Khan. Oh, looks like. Oh, are you with us? Am I seeing your name right, Susan Khan? Please let us know. You can unmute yourself. Like to move. Janice, I'm happy to move you into your room.
Hi, Chris.
They're doing.
Yeah, fine. Unmuted. Here I am.
Excellent. Let's go down the list here. David, can I help you move into a room?
Actually, it's Beverly Shore, and David's using my computer, and I would like to go into room 2.
Room 2. Okay. Room 2. Kathy, I see your hand raised. Kathy Hutchinson, where can we move?
Yeah, I'm looking to get into room 4, but I'm gonna go on the breakout rooms, I guess tab on the bottom. I don't have the join part.
Do you see everyone's name?
Right.
If you scroll down, I'm sorry, I know it's tricky, because sometimes it shows everyone's names first. If you scroll down in that list, it'll bring up all the different rooms that you can join. I'm
seeing all the rooms, and then like I click on room 4, and it doesn't. I don't have the join.
Okay, no problem. Go ahead and move you now into room 4.
So then when I get to there, if I want to go to a different room, just ask. There's a facilitator.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for your patience.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, so quick question. I was going to kind of monitoring a room that focuses on the east side, but I see north and south here. Where do you want me to be?
Yeah, we had changed that, Chris, in the last annotator. We said, I believe you were going to be in south, so I'm going to go ahead and move you in there.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for your patience.
I don't see they type in chat. I'm moving some people over as I see them pop up in the chat.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Sheila.
Jose,
Hi.
Luis, oh, Sheila, yes.
Room 2, please.
Room 2.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
I can't find me anymore.
Jose Luis's
How
iPhone.
did you get in?
I tried to move into room 6, but I can't do it.
You in
Oh my
there
God,
now.
this is so.
Have a good time. Thank you for your patience.
Can I
Suzanne,
just click on
where
your
can we
chair?
move you to? Hear us? Oh, you moved. Excellent. Okay, going down the list, Bill Wolpert. Welcome.
Hi, Bill.
You should be able to unmute, Bill, if you want to let us know where you'd like to go. And as,
Just indicate with your hand.
yep, that's true too. You could throw us some numbers. We
1,
can get creative.
4. Awesome.
Got it.
Thank you.
Well done.
Hey, Dave,
On to room
this
4 you
is
go.
Rachel. I just need co-host abilities because I wasn't able to record my room.
No problem. Eric, could you make sure that Rachel has co-host?
Thanks. And then if you can put me back into room 4, that would be excellent. Thank you.
For sure. Brew, what can we do? Thank you so much. You be able to unmute yourself.
Rue, can you hear us? There she is.
But I was on a call, so I was.
Oh, no problem. Sorry to interrupt. Whenever you're ready, if you want to give us a symbol with your hands, even what room you'd like to go to, or let us know now, we're happy to move you. There she goes. 5. Margot wants room 5. Got you, Margot.
Hi, Mayor. Do you have a preference what room?
I'm just waiting to see how things fall out before I decide where to go.
Gotcha.
Sounds good. Welcome. Dennis, how can we help you move to a room? You should be able to unmute yourself. Or I'm happy to, or if you want-
I'd like to go to room 3.
3, no problem. You are on your way. Have fun.
And for
Veronica,
I was just, go ahead, Dave.
Veronica, how can we help you?
Hi, may I please go to room 2? Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
And can you send me back to room 4?
Yeah. Sorry, did I send you to the wrong room?
No, I'm still in the main room, but I do have co-host capacities, so thank you.
So, and Veronica, it looks like you were moved. You should see a little pop-up now if you go to your route. Looks like it's forcing you to press that join to get there. We'll come back to you to help if needed. Claudia, how can we help?
You could put me in room 2.
Room thing. Enjoy yourself. Janice, did you end up in the room?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm kind of in nowhere land. I'm still on the welcome to the Petaluma. I had computers.
No problem.
That was the problem, but I can't click onto any.
Okay.
Like if I'm clicking on room 1 or whatever.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you, Peggy.
You bet.
Okay, Natalie B. Asking you if you can hear us, to move you into a room.
Yeah, room 5, please.
Room 5, sure. Have a good time.
Elizabeth, I think you want 1. Elizabethson, room 1.
Yes, please. I'll start at the beginning.
Gotcha.
Well done. Renamed yourself. That is creative. Awesome. And Veronica, I'm going to double check here. It looks like you were moved. Are you not getting the pop-up on your screen?
No, I haven't gotten a pop yet.
Okay, let me just do back here and then we'll try it again.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for your patience.
Rachel, I'm not seeing you in the unassigned. I do see you in room 4. I'm having some trouble.
Moving you. Yeah.
Are you into another device by chance?
Nope, shouldn't be, no.
Rachel, you might want to just log off and in.
Okay, I'll do that.
And Veronica, I'm sorry to make this, but it looks like there might be a slight glitch on your end. If you mind logging back into the meeting, we'll make sure
sure.
you're into the right room. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. I don't know. Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa D, can we help move you into a room? Hi,
There are quite a few people that just joined.
Yep. Hi, Ali. Welcome. I'm going to go ahead and move you into room 2.
I was just room 2, but
Okay.
it didn't seem like I was really needed. So I was going to try and hop around to the other rooms and participate in the activities. Like, if that's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it looks like you have to come back to this room in order to move a different room.
I think that is the case. If they have to come to the main room and then go back.
You should actually be able to join any one of the rooms, unless you accidentally click the setting that way. But if that's what you're seeing, Ali, that might be the case.
Yeah, I just couldn't. It didn't give me an option for the rooms. It just said backing rooms back here, and then like choose one. So that might be why a bunch of people are popping back into the main room right now.
Did you go to the breakout symbol first, though, or did you click on? Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, John said, and where can we?
I would say number 3.
Got it.
Excellent. Fantastic teamwork.
Dwayne, we send you. Alex, where can we send? I'm doing muted.
4.
You got it.
Got it. Excellent.
Alex to Carly.
I'll do room 2.
Javier, I saw you. Where would you like to go? Javier, can you unmute?
Finally. Yes, I'd like to try the Spanish room, please. Number 6.
Got it. Number 6.
Awesome.
And Petaluma Civics, I'm assuming that's Josh. Josh, are you there? Kylie?
I'm going to go ahead and move Josh to room 3 for now. That's where we.
Recording in progress.
Nonstop.
Cut and paste, cut and
Yeah.
paste.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for that feedback. So yeah, if you follow that link, it takes you to a platform conveyor, a PDF of a draft document that is the work of the GPAC and informed by input from the community that where we've already asked questions that help us to define these issues. It's very much in draft, and so one of the purposes of the workshop is to have a look at it, provide us feedback and comment, let us know where we've captured the concepts well, let us know where things are clear, and certainly anything missing, be sure to point that out as well. You can either do that on the document directly, you can do that not just during the session, but afterwards as well. Or you can just share your thoughts and comments in this room, and Olivia, our note taker, is here to be sure to capture that. You can also add comments in the chat if you like, and save and integrate chat comments into our notes.
So I have a question on under supporting concepts. I think it's the last bullet. Hang on, because it's hard. So the last, evaluate and select physical connection at a system-wide level using holistic cost-benefit analysis.
Wow.
What the hell does that mean?
That is a mouthful.
What do you mean? Dave, what does that mean to you? I mean, Barry, you guys spend way too much time in this world. What does that mean to you?
Dave's at a loss for words.
Since I don't know, I will say what I was thinking. If I had a couple more minutes, I could begin to think of some specific things to that and then ask or try and find out if those are accurate. So that's my time filler. Dave, your turn.
Well, I mean, I would Louise, I probably don't think when we say system-wide, I read that as citywide. You know, what does a Southern Crossing traffic throughout the, and then holistic just means just estimate the cost of or the value of time lost in congestion. But what is the value of someone on the east side being able to have something on the west side? I'm not sure I know how to do it, but I think I could at least express an idea of what it might be. Wrong. Am I getting anywhere close?
Yeah, that was great. I apologize. I think I may have contributed to the poorly written sentence. It was based on some feedback. Let's not, if we're concerned about east-west connections across the river in 101, let's look at it as a system and not fixate just on one may or may not like, right? And let's do it using real objective, data-driven, quantitative analysis. That's the cost-benefit analysis. Because engineers do this all the time, where they evaluate the benefits relative to the expensibility based on their, they have calculations to estimate the benefit to the community. So this is just saying, do that on a city level when deciding when, where to put connectors in across connecting east and west. So, but obviously it's not clear enough.
Oh, thank you. I guess, as somebody whose office is on Southern Petaluma Boulevard, I'm going to build a ferry and make volunteers and use it as a way of fundraising.
$5 a pop.
Uh-huh.
Elise, I would just said that to somebody else. We have had that discussion before that there should be little boats across. That's a great idea.
I got court order volunteers pulling us.
It's a great idea. I love it.
Hey, Olivia, you better capture that idea. I want to see. You're going to see.
The other thing, fundraising plan. Careful.
The other system-wide idea I keep having is I want to replace the cars with electric golf carts like they do, and you don't really have to go that fast. And think of how fun it would be. I mean, it's hard to get everyone on bikes. If you got small children, you got to pick up your groceries, and it's harder. But electric golf carts are a lot of fun, so we could be zipping all over the place.
More and more, Natasha, but it has to start with reducing the speed that cars drive.
What?
No, just have them get behind you.
If you Google golf cart cities or golf cart towns, there are towns. There are some that have whole dedicated, like almost like bike paths, carts, and all the high school kids drive their golf carts to school. It's hysterical. I think it's in North Carolina or something. And then there are other ones where the where they just compete with the traffic and the car to stack up behind them.
Well, but again, if you tell the cars you can never drive faster than 50 miles an hour, they stack up.
Yeah, or you just say, you know what, these streets are only for golf carts and bicycles, and that's it.
All right.
And if you ride, go around.
All right, Dave. So I expect to see a Know Before You Grow workshop coming up soon, focused specifically on electric golf carts as a means of city transportation. Hey, if I could just interrupt here, there's some folks that have popped in. I just want to make sure you have a chance to orient them a little bit. On the screen, you see a link to a website that allows you to read and comment on a draft document, a draft value and principles document. Also, if you go to your chat, and maybe it's time to add the link again, Olivia. Oh, you just did. So you click on that link, it takes you to that page, and I'll preview that for you here. It'll take you to this page where it'll explain the origin of this draft document. And if you scroll through the 4 values at the top, or the 14 guiding principles, and drop a pin and add a comment. You like it, you don't like it, this is really confusing, I don't understand this, I love the concept, but you could explain it better, anything like that. This will be in it for a couple of weeks, so we expect to get lots of very useful feedback. You can also share ideas in the chat or share them with the group, because doing a workshop is conversation and how it elicits new ideas like toll services across the river and golf carts and prohibiting gas-powered vehicles.
Is there a way to talk about the historic downtown without making it seem like we have to encase it in amber?
Yes, we should be able to say that. Do you think that captured this?
Well, I don't know where it's captured. It talks about preserving the historic buildings and features aligned for infill development, that it coexists harmoniously with the historic. We know what some of that architecture looks like. It doesn't have the integrity of the historic buildings because it's busy trying to fit in. So is there room here for the more modern to be built that's appropriate? Because what I see here is, and what I think is that we're preserving the historic downtown.
Great comment. We try to capture that, and I think it must be the 6th bullet down, allow for the evolution of the city. And then the last one, I'm looking at guiding principle number 2. The second to last bullet also is probably the one that does us to historic districts and adjacent to adapt and reuse historic buildings and add new context sensitive buildings. That was true your expression.
Okay, I was sort of looking, I was down in 6 looking at the preserving its character, historic life. There's a few phrases scattered through here, and I can't remember I saw that sort of talk about having the modern zero up around the historic downtown, and we've had some discussions of late about our historic downtown that seems like there is some thoughts that there's some point in time where it could be preserved, some aspect of it with modern additions.
Great. No, please, Olivia's capturing that comment, but if you could drop a note on the document as well, that would be super helpful. I see a raised hand, Eric, and then Elizabeth.
Yeah, thank you. I may have missed it. One of the pillars of Petaluma says participatory decision-making and transparency of government. I'm wondering where like transparency of government shows up in the guiding principles list.
Great question.
Yeah, I have a question about that. How is it measured? How do we measure whether we were able to set a stage for future challenges with integrity, creativity, and collaboration?
That is an excellent question. That really actually gets to how we're defining and thinking about the pillars versus the guiding principles.
Mm-hmm.
The pillars are, another way to think about them is values or themes, right? And so that it's cross-cutting, and we expect it to be reflected not just across the principles, but throughout the general plan. But that is a great question. We know the guiding principles, we often like to find metrics that correspond with them that help us evaluate options and alternatives as we go through the planning process. It's often sometimes harder with values or pillars because they're more general, but that's a great question. You can certainly see what that would mean. Like, how do you measure that? It could be participation levels, could be reach of city communications, could be a variety of things. That's a great point. So please also put that. I know Lydia's got it, but please also put that in the comment.
Yeah, it's like, and it's hard to measure. You can measure how many people participated. How do you measure whether they did it with creativity and whether it was collaborative and whether they learned something will move on into the future?
Excellent. That's the fun thing about planning. It always brings us back to Civics 101. Elizabeth, you've been patient. Thank you. Can you mute yourself?
No, I got it. Sorry about that. I want to go back to the golf carts and the little metal ferries, but not specifically to talk about that. And I don't know exactly where this fits because, to be honest, it's all too, can't read any of it. But what I'm hearing and listening and responding to is I want us to have one of in our pillars to be that we are innovators, innovate. We thought, well, should we just add some more roads? You know, that's not going to get us where we need to be in the era when we are behind around climate change. We're behind in a lot of things that are going to affect our community greatly. So let's everything we do with an eye to how can we be innovative? How can we bring in the best practices that are up to date, happening in other place success, and not just sort of, in a way, it even relates to what Cinda was talking about downtown. You know, let's be leaders in this, and let's get where we need to be to keep our community on track and save us from ourselves.
It's a great comment. We do have this idea of leadership as one of the guiding principles, but it sounds like we need to have innovation in there somewhere, as you're suggesting. Thank you. John.
Okay, one of the ideas I had when I went to Don Pancho's restaurant earlier yesterday, I noticed Kmart is still a large space that is empty. And I'm thinking, and there's lots of calls now across the US for taking out these large superstore structures that are empty and turn them into various types of housing for affordable housing, housing for the homeless, even mid-range type of housing, subdivisions into these senior center type things. So I'm not sure where I would put that in the document, where that would fit, because it's like there's infrastructure supports infill development, but I'm not sure if that's part of infill development or something else.
Yeah, it might fit in the economic development guiding principle, but that's a good question, is whether, like, the extent of which it speaks specifically to that retail dilemma.
Right? Retail dilemma.
Can you hear me, John?
Store or other spaces that office spaces that are becoming available, as well as retail spaces becoming available.
Yeah, council member, go ahead, and then Linda next.
I just wanted to say that, how about number 13 under guiding principles, talks about affordable housing and a diversity of housing options, not particularly the Kmart, but if I could say one other thing, John, because I'm concerned with exactly what you brought up, I've spoken with the owner of that Plaza North Shopping Center because I heard Home Depot was coming in there, and he had no interest in going in a housing direction. But I wonder if if we could get together at the city and sort of find a way to offer he can't refuse.
Yeah, you're right, because the retail centers would probably hate this concept, because that's against their mission of selling stuff at their stores. So it's going to be that was going to be a hard sell to the owners of those shopping centers. So
I thought that would be a good way to bring that up would be to say that this would bring in 50 or 100 families who might become customers right next door to certain businesses there. That impressive. Anyway,
great conversation. Lyndon, very good question or comment.
Well, I was going to respond to Elizabeth Howland's comment about being innovative, and we're working on the Cool City Challenge, and it's really think what our ideas are. We don't know how we're going to get to carbon neutrality by 2030, and we're not going to do it by just incrementally making smaller the already existing we do already. And so what are those grand ideas, those bold ideas, those things that no one done to be able to get us to carbon neutrality? And it'd be nice to capture that somewhere, that are thinking bold than we're even capable of, I think.
Right, bold, innovative, cutting edge, leading. Sounds like we need to chat this leadership number 12 quite a bit more. Thank you. So for those of you who joined recently, you can share thoughts and comments. It's eliciting some great conversation, and also drop comments. And also, you'll find a direct link to the draft principles document where we invite you to take the time either tonight or in the next couple of weeks to review it and drop pins and leave comments, either telling us how to clarify things that are missing, parts that you really love. We like all your feedback. Trace and Eric.
Hi, I was just reading over the pillars and then the principles. And so it's kind of caught in the pillars in regard to participatory decision-making and building up on Delinda's comments or questions. Don't know how we're going to get there, but what can we lead in? What we could lead in is investing in social infrastructure of working with our members, organizations in a different way versus what is often just a generalized, kind of a tokenized form of community engagement versus a deep engagement. And this bringing in so many great examples to build on. And I think the city is very oriented in this way and inherently structure operate in more siloed fashion and are used to delivering services one way. So even with great intention, great council, great commissioners, great staff, prioritizing print level, there's nothing in those principles that speaks to how you embody participatory decision-making. How do we end democracy being drunken and divisive over many decades across our country? And so I think it's a really core thing when we engage the wisdom of our communities as we last many years. They show up in phenomenal ways. We just saw this Petaluma Equitable Climate Action Coalition on Tuesday that did deep community engagement and brought some really valuable policy recommendations. So long-winded, but essentially my question or comment is we need somehow a different level and type of civic engagement in our principles.
Great comment. Olivia is capturing it very nicely. One is, we're trying to make this as an inclusive and engaging process as possible. So we're always open to suggestions for how to do that better during the planning process. And then as specific to the plan itself, the scope for this is very comprehensive and it includes the robust implementation component. And so what you're sharing, the other share part of what we could include in that section, where we speak not just to the action steps that need to be taken, the funding that can be accessed to build what needs to be built, but also the continued conversation and public engagement process that will be requisite as well, successful implementation. So thank you for sharing that comment. And thank you for reminding us that not only should it be reflected in the values, but also in the principles. So great comment. Eric?
Thank you. In addition to not seeing transparency of government in the guidelines, I saw one reference to health. So for instance, healthcare or health outcomes, mental health. We have the SAFE that's been managed, which is a service for crises of mental health, for instance. So it seems like there's maybe an entire section perhaps missing, unless I missed something. I don't know if you can help me out.
No, that's a great observation. That's why we're doing this. Is if we miss whole concepts that need to be included, then that's an excellent observation.
Thank
you. Do you remember which principle you saw the reference to health? Not coming to the top of my head.
Yeah.
Was it? I was expecting to see it under.
I just saw it under number 3, and it's the first one that mentions human health. That's the only one.
Excellent point. Thank you. That's probably the reason we're asking. Important substance. For those of you who joined us recently, just a quick reminder back to your question, John. You can provide comments in this room in 3 different ways. We're getting lots of great verbal comments that Olivia is capturing in a document off screen. And also throw questions and comments in the chat. And we also invite everyone to go to this tiny URL link. The link is also in the chat, and use the Conveyo platform to drop a pin on the draft document and share thoughts and comments. So, John.
to the pillars of Petaluma, I think I've mentioned this before a couple times, and I still would like to some changes made. These are really nice green concepts. I'm Green Party, and these are wonderful. But I think we really need to have a pillar to be our economy, our local economy. Put a in there. We're just completely missing the concept of having that strong economy, a strong tax base, as well as all this nice green things that we're having, because that gives us the financial stability in order to do all of these things. And that needs to be a pillar that we completely support businesses, local agricultural businesses, globally based businesses here that are doing internet work, even manufacturing of goods that are going global, which we need to support all these as a pillar of our concept of keeping Petaluma strong. So I want to make sure we have some sort of economy and business and tax base as a pillar that we want to support everything that we can do to maintain that stability through that means, as well as being green is supportive. And so that's why I'm sort of still missing in these pillars, is that whole arena of need to have a whole more holistic approach. This is almost too great. And even though I fully support it, I think we need to be a little from others feel the way.
Yeah, thank you, John. Yeah, for that idea in guiding principle 7, but I appreciate your point about including it among the pillars. Josh, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, really that point, and sort of building on that, one of the things that strikes me about that self-sufficiency and that with the economy or local economic development is that there's a need for as we say here in number 7, like a need of industries, of sectors. And so I wonder if my personal would be, I would love to see light industry or certain types of things called out more specifically, not necessarily in tension with the green thing, but like that just, there are industries that we need to call out, that we need to support or to miss externalities, like the impacts of shipping things across the country. The more we can do locally, the better.
Great comments, Josh. Yeah, it's always a dilemma of how specific to make the guiding principles. Towards the end of the plan, it might be very opportune as the rest of this stuff. But excellent point. And really, particularly the idea of externalities, and we often forget, I think, in our society, that economy is not this separate thing from the rest of our lives, that the way it functions will provide tremendous benefits, but there's also costs, and sometimes we're very thoughtful about how those costs are shared and distributed. So thank you. Eric, I see your has been raised for what sure was just a holdover from previous, or
sorry, I'll take it down. Thank you.
For those of you who joined recently, we're in the guiding principles room, where we're inviting your thoughts and comments on some draft pillars of Petaluma, or values and guiding principles. We really want to know where we've captured ideas well, things that are missing, anything that here doesn't belong there, should be revised. We've gotten fantastic comments so far. We invite people to share verbal comments. One video taker is capturing off screen in great detail. Also invite comments in chat. I've seen a few, thank you. And again, there's this Conveyo platform where the draft document is available, where you can just click on the document anywhere you'd like to make a comment, and then leave a comment. And you can also view other people's comments and give it an up thumb or a down thumb, depending on how you think about what you think about. Cinda, another comment?
Yes, I wasn't raising my hand before, I was just speaking, so apologies for that. Is it possible to add to the pillars? I mean, I just added one. I feel like I would like to live in a community that makes one of its pillars the supporting of creativity and innovation. And but how does, I mean, are the pillars determined, or is there a way to add to them? Am I barking up the wrong tree? Or
No. This is a draft document. That's exactly what we're asking for tonight. Is, you know, do like people be confident? Some people think we're missing some aren't clear enough. Some aren't reflected accurately in the guiding principles. Those are all very helpful comments. So thank you.
How to add? Do I have to build a constituency for creativity and get us to vote, or how do I?
So we're gleaning community input that informs the development and evolution of this document through a variety of means. Tonight's workshop and we'll be able to review and add notes, as you all have been doing in the couple of weeks that follow. Additionally, it's coming through pop-ups, area meetings. We're going to bring it to the GPAC, discuss it, help us refine and improve this document. Those GPAC meetings are open to the public. We always get great community there. It's going to go on to Planning Commission and on to Council for adoption. So all those are opportunities to continue to weigh in as the document evolves.
Can I just add, this
Please.
is Peggy. We are also taking notes in each one of these rooms on everybody's feedback. So even if you did in the chat, or you post it on the website or whatever, we're recording these and we're taking copious notes. And I think you're not. Yes. Great.
I am. Yes.
Yeah, part of me wondered they're not reading. Some people are thinking, so there you go. Here's Olivia typing away as people are commenting.
Beautiful.
And she's doing an excellent job with capital comment. Exactly why we do this in workshop format, because some people want to just share comments and verbally and generate creative ideas through discussion. Other people are dropping ideas in the chat, and we also have the Conveyo platform. So we want to make it as easy as possible for people to share their thoughts and comments. And I see that lots of people already dropped comments on here. Let's look at a few here. Missing the concept of strong economy, great. Similar to what somebody shared verbally, small town feel is missing. Non-polluting, excellent. Another feedback, comment, if you like, you can click on the up thumb and give it a vote. If you disagree, you can do that. We invite those reason comments. Excellent. Thank you for capturing that. We got it in our notes as well. Healthcare is missing. Careful comments. These are great. This is exactly what we're looking for. And thank you for putting your comments next to the sentence or phrase that yours. There we go. Not being precise enough yet. Thank you. What do you? Oh, I forgot this feature. This is great. You can even reply to someone's comment and have line ace in this conversation. Excellent. This is wonderful. Thank you all for taking the time to look there, provide comments, share with them, the group. Oh, excellent. Thank you for that. Wonderful agriculture. This is great. Wonderful. We have plans, we have engineers in the audience. This is wonderful feedback. Take the rotation fit the size. Excellent. By people in golf cart. connectivity, all the state. Wonderful. Oh, we screwed up. The typo. Wow. I apologize for that. Forget 3 that were supposed to be here and accidentally copy pasted the top 3 on here. Sorry about that. QA/QC system. That's odd. Yes, another that needs definition or use of a term that's clearer for everybody. Wonderful. Thank you for tackling this with gusto. For those of you who may have joined recently, I see that we have a beautiful black dog that's joined us. Thank you. We're inviting comments, thoughts, reactions to the draft pillars or values and guiding principles for the city of Petaluma. You can do that through conversation. Share your comments. We've had some great conversations so far, and Olivia off screen is capturing those in a Google document, which we will integrate into these notes. You can also add comments in the chat, or in the chat you can see and click on a direct link to a Conveyo platform where you can drop a pin on the document and add a comment. You can read other people's comments and reply to it. You can give it an up or down thumb, variety of ways to respond and react. So thank you. John, another comment.
I was just looking at 12, be a leader within the region and beyond. And I find the second bullet point, lead by example, is way too generic of a statement. Gee, do we want to really lead in having high tech and the strongest economy in the world? I think we need to have better listed there, and particularly in, we said, regional and global issues. I would like to see a lot more relationship with the county and working with the county government to do both county level and state level issues, and working through our elected lead to vote the pillars that we have up above. So a little bit more phrasing for how we're going to lead and what we're going to lead in and who we're going to lead in those supporting concepts there. So too generic. So I'd like to see more ideas tossed into that section.
Thank you. Another reason we do this, sometimes we lift up a principle like that because we're hearing it and it really seems to resonate and be consistent with what we've heard, but sometimes we don't have the details or the language really elaborate on things, and so that sort of comment is particularly helpful. Thank you. John, was that another comment or just forgot to put your hand down? Welcome, Gina. Welcome, Chris, Liz, Earl.
Hey there. I've just been quietly looking through the document.
And if I know you, like I think I do, Gina, you're at your desk tasking.
A little bit of that, not much.
You work some of the longest hours of anyone I know. From you at very the day, I always find amazing.
Very amusing, isn't it?
Just a test to the city of Petaluma. So thank you.
Oh, thanks, Ron. Some great comments in there. I just went through and clicked on a single one I could. Very thoughtful.
Yes, excellent. I'm thrilled with the value, the quality, change, versus depth of comments we're getting.
Yeah, this is this is a great tool that you're using in particular chat telling and helpful. You know, I think probably as constructive as if we were actually in the workshop. And maybe more so because folks can contemplate a little bit more and have a little more focused time and space. So
Yeah, and that's
well done. Well
yeah,
done.
thanks for the feedback, and that's part of the reason we're to stay open asynchronously for a couple of weeks, because people can do this on.
Yeah.
But so far, this has reminded me of the benefits of also getting a group of people together and the comments generate conversation and additional ideas and reactions, which is great. So that's what you get out of a workshop you don't otherwise get. So thank you. Welcome, Daniel. In this room, we're reviewing and commenting on and talking about the draft pillars, Petaluma, and the guiding principles. Got some fantastic comments. Go to the link in the chat and go to the Conveyor platform where you can review and drop comments on the document directly. Also, we have this room, so if you have thoughts, comments, questions you want to share verbally, we certainly invite that. And then also, if you just want to make comments in the chat, please do that. We will close as well the rest of our notes after the end of tonight's session.
Dropped one again into 12 in the leadership area. So if other folks would like to drop things in there too, I wanted to be a leader in the state and county governments to support our pillars and values. We want to lead in our citizen participation, not just to have what government does for our participation in local government and within volunteerism, and that we will lead in climate action, including housing, transportation, carbon neutrality, and nature solutions. So if we can add more things in there, folks have ideas, I'd like to see a lot more added in.
Thank you, John.
I'm gonna, apparently I'm developing a pattern here. I'm gonna step into the space that John just created with that, and specifically, I'd like to see a note about just a level of investment in the engagement, because I know it's costly and involved and takes a lot of staff time. And I think it would be really valuable to be explicit about wanting that really thing that is greater and greater investment. Because we've seen over the last few years, seen a great deal of civic engagement, and the results of it in the city have been phenomenal, and love to see more of that.
And that comment shared earlier about, see it a pillar, but are those concepts reflected in our principles? So thanks for that reminder. Susie, welcome. You have to share.
Thank you. Yeah, I apologize for anyone who's been in the same room with me, but I was instructed to share my piece in the 3 different rooms. So if it's okay to jump in, that would be great.
Sure.
Okay. I run Petaluma Bounty, a local community food security project, and we have a community farm close to downtown. And Petaluma Bounty's seeing a similar situation than a number of other community gardens that are on city property and other individual and group efforts to grow food that are doing so on land that's not specifically zoned for commercial agriculture. And the reality is, if someone came through and complained to the city, they could shut our operation down or a number of other operations down. So I'm advocating that this city planning and this process of general plan update, community security as a guiding principle, as well as a shared value related to facing and connecting it to community health, climate crisis response, as well as community resiliency, and
that I am recommending is that they're incorporating community food producers and community food production be an allowable use of land that is necessary for commercial agriculture, but that is that it would not create any sort of hazard or community health impact or infringe on any sort of conservation restrictions on that land. But for it to standard that people can grow food for themselves or for community efforts. And so I put together a short white paper I've shared with the council and the city manager, and they recommended that I just come and share these perspectives. But this would help everyone be able to grow their own food, grow food with and for each other, and that community food security should be included that are climate and community resilience. So that's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Thank you for those very thoughtful comments. That is a great reminder. We probably have very few, if any, references to food and agriculture in this current document. We may have a reference to agriculture protect out of the boundaries, but your comment is a great reminder that in this day and age, integral to food security, opportunities to grow their own food in a urban setting. And more specifically, one issue planners deal with often is exactly what you raised, is that city and zoning, the old system of zoning, typically like highly segregates different distinct uses. And so it's rare that in a residential area, you could even legally do certain types of food production. Often animals are restricted, even though they may not have any direct impacts on neighbors, sometimes restricted, and sometimes commercial agriculture. Actually, most often they can't. Hasn't come up a lot so far, so I really appreciate that. One final comment on that. I really also appreciate the fact that food by definition is a theme, integrating principle. It's really a pillar because it touches, as you pointed out, so much of what we do. It's obviously integral to our survival, but food system on all those different topics you address touches on economy, environment, climate. So thank you for that excellent reminder.
Thank you. And yeah, just to point out, food and food access does not is not showcased in the general plan.
That's why we're asking this. We've suspected we've missed some key topics, and several people have pointed out some we've missed. Thank you.
I'm gonna jump in with something that reminds me of in the last few years, if I recall correctly, there was a processing facility that small ranches, you get there, it was like organic certified. They would have their the animals processed there, and woodification, which is so important to some. And I know that that's something that's no longer available to folks locally. And so I just wonder if maybe there's another layer, another dimension to support in some way through development those sorts of facilities. We can kind of that aspect of food production locally as well.
Thank you. Beverly, I see you've raised your hand. Welcome.
Thank you. For me, I think the most important thing is to put urgency in our climate emergency. We have done some amazing things in terms of creating a wonderful climate action commission and more on gas stations, but we really attack the problem, not just we need to have policies, but we have to attack the problem. And I would say that two of the most important places we can start is transportation. We have got to get people out of our cars. We have air quality problem. More importantly, we can't be using fossil fuels. It's important charging stations, but this thing to just people out of their cars. So it's to create walkability, connectivity, use the infrastructure that we have so that people can get on safely and in a healthy manner. And then I would like to put emphasis on livability. This is anything that we do in our town should promote livability and for everyone. So those would be my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful comments. If you haven't yet, please do take a close look at the Principle 5, which speaks to transportation specifically, as well as 8, which speaks to climate issues. If we have not captured well your sentiments, please make sure that you leave suggestions.
Okay, just to
You're
add on what
glutton
was
for
just
punishment on
stated
this.
about the transportation, what's missing in a lot of our code right now, expectations for new developments and older developments in all our apartment complexes or multifamily units in our retail is the number of charging stations. If we're going to be electrified cars by 2035, there's going to be a huge expansion required in this whole field, not only just owning the electric cars, but also so supporting them with outlets. And I think we need to convert all of our apartment complexes right now, at least slowly, if not putting 3 or 4 stations in every single one being a requirement, or getting the idea that that's going to be required for everybody to have all charging in every single parking spot, and sharing vehicles is part of that. So I'm not sure if that's going to be, if that's too specific for our transportation and alternatives to private vehicles, but electrification of vehicles and charging stations need to be prioritized in any development, and even retrofitting all of our older developments to be more inclusive in that and provide that free energy to our low income folks in any multifamily situation. So I'm not sure how we support that, but I think that's going to be critical if we make this movement toward electrified vehicles. And I support electric cars and electric scooters and electric bicycles, which I now have.
Thank you, John. Another insightful comment. Excellent reminder. We nearly get to that issue here, but clearly missed the mark, right? We talk about innovative alternatives, but don't specifically address electrification. We talk about, reducing private fossil fuel burning vehicles, but don't mention electric cars or vehicles specifically. So clearly we're missing some of those critical points. Thank you for pointing it out. Susie and Beverly, your hands are still up. Do you have additional comments, or are those just exercising your arms?
Sorry, lazy hand, forgot to put it down.
It's fine. I just want to check because I don't, if people have any comments.
Yeah, I had an additional comment.
Okay, great, thank you. Go
And
ahead.
John reminded me in transportation, I think that concentrating on the first and last mile. I know that my neighborhood has absolutely no no bus activity. If we people to get out of their cars, we have to give them an option. And so far, we don't give them options. We have neighborhoods that are out of walking distance of public transportation, or our bus system isn't convenient for them. So counting on that first and last mile, in addition to the walking and biking pathways and grid, would be really important.
Thank you for that reminder. Should mentioned here, and then I think also in one or more of the other principles that touch on land use and infill development, because the transportation strategies go hand in hand with the land use strategies, as you pointed out. So thank you. For those of you who joined us, we're inviting thoughts, comments, suggestions related to the draft values and guidance for the general plan. You go to that tiny URL link, and if Olivia, if you wouldn't mind dropping the hyperlink in the chat again, that's probably the easiest way to get there. takes you to a Conveyo platform where you can comment on this document. And this is what you'll see when you get there. Some explanation of where this came from and what the purpose of it is, and the draft document itself, where in this wonderful platform, you can click on the document anywhere you like. A little yellow word bubble will up, and it'll prompt you for your comment. You can also read other people's comments, give it an up or down, and let us know what you think. This is a lot we know to digest, and so part of the reason keeping these open and available for the next 2 weeks is so that people have ample time to look through them closely and make sure they've shared all the thoughts and comments with us. Again, we're looking for where do we hit the mark, what's missing, and we've gotten some great comments related to what's missing. Then what needs to be modified or removed. And there's been some fantastic, helpful comments related to word choice, terminology, and generally not being clear about what we mean. So those are all welcome and encouraged. We want to make sure this document is as clear as possible and truly reflects what we've heard from. So welcome the new additions. We also encourage people sharing with the group. We've had great conversations so far on a range of topics. Also in the chat, as people are doing, we welcome comments. I like the chat, and we love it when people do that. We will save those at the end of the evening and integrate them into our notes. And then also for folks who are sharing comments verbally, which is great because it elicits additional responses. Olivia means is capturing everything people say in this Google document. We will also integrate into our notes. Hello, Olivia is being. This is amazing. Thank you, Olivia. The fingers are going to be tired at the end of the night.
Ideas about traffic and pedestrian stuff. Not sure if this is the venue for that.
Absolutely. And that's actually a truism of all workshops. It doesn't matter where you are or when, you can, it's not mean.
Not cranky. Yeah, so I live on Kentucky right near Washington, and I cross it probably times a day. And remember years ago, I was curious about whether that intersection be made safer for pedestrians. And I learned that from reading some article somewhere that there are several ingredients that go into making an intersection dangerous for pedestrians. And I believe this intersection satisfied every single one of those ingredients. And I believe I'm thinking of myself on Kentucky, heading away from town, walking this way. And if I on the left side, then it's not safe for pedestrians if cars are allowed to turn left onto from Kentucky. And also it's a wide street, and there are various other factors that go into this. And I know from personal experience, often don't see pedestrians. And I have been in my car, and I didn't see a pedestrian. I've been on both sides of this terrifying moment. And so I believe that if they removed the left turn, I think they would need a new mode of the traffic signals, like a mode where the cars can't turn, or something like that. Of course, that takes more time, and it makes the light last longer, which is frustrating. So it's probably a trade-off, there. I also thought about maybe making the road go under a tunnel. It'd be expensive, wouldn't it?
Thank you. Excellent comment.
I don't know if it sounds practical or doable.
No, that's great. It just to be honest, it's probably not that level of specificity that we'll include in their principles. But that's another principle of these workshops is we welcome all comments and we will them and integrate them into our work at the right time. And that's actually very timely in terms of it's very relevant to the areas of discussion rooms where people are talking about specific improvements in different areas of the city. So we'll make sure that your comment gets integrated into those. Now, one other thought, it's interesting that you noted the cost, the perceived cost of slowing down traffic. Part of the question in transportation planning is like, who are we planning for, right? Are we prioritizing cars? Are we prioritizing bikes? Are we prioritizing pedestrians?
Yeah.
How do you balance that? That's a pretty fundamental question. Historically, engineers have always prioritized cars. So that's a big opportunity we have with the general plan is to revisit some of those fundamentals of transportation and other types of planning. Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
People are carefully commenting on Conveo. They're annoyed that Ron keeps talking. Thank you for the comments in the chat. Wonderful. Wow, Landry, you're going to town. This is excellent. Thank you for all your chat comments. Thank you. We do really want to make it as easy as possible for folks to share however they'd like, in writing, verbally, through a comment on Conveo. You'd like to be moved now. I can do that for you.
One thought that I have, actually, with my tech advisory committee hat on. So in our guiding principles here, we have expanded equitable broadband access under the number, which I think is great. One of the things that we've discovered through speaking with engineers and folks is there's some barriers to getting the infrastructure in place. So for instance, west side of Petaluma has fiber mostly already because it's strung from the poles. East Petaluma less so because they need to micro trench to lay the fiber cables down. One of the things we've been talking about in that committee is that some cities have made it mandatory to, when one is resurfacing or doing a certain level of work road, you just lay down fiber one way or the other. And the city would, and some cities are even doing that proactively, that even if the fiber isn't connected to endpoints yet, that there are providers that are eager to use these things once they finally start getting connected. So I just want to, right here, we have this broadband thing in one thing. I feel like maybe there's more detail added to that. Like right now it says expand equitable broadband access. Maybe it's expand equitable broadband access and act proactively to build up infrastructure so that it's there when we need it.
Excellent. That's true of other infrastructure and utilities as well sometimes. Yeah, broadband's a touchy, a difficult issue. In most of us, we privatize some what you might consider public services and don't other. And this is generally, not universally, but generally we privatize telecom and make it available to people as a pay for service system. Some can take it into their own hands and developing and building and broadband testing will develop regulatory systems that require fundamentally that broadband, technology, the systems will as develop as the city grows, right? So,
right.
Great point. Thank you.
it seems can I jump in? It seems inevitable ban and internet infrastructure should become equitable and part of the Commonwealth. People put bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, wireless internet, and it's anytime the power goes out and you lose your internet, it's like head in your arm, and it's going to get even more so in the near future. So it's got to become a Commonwealth facility like water.
Thank you. Please, we've got the comment. Lydia's got the comment. But feel free to drop the document itself and elaborate further if you'd like. John.
Okay, moving down to number 10, physically and psychologically integrate the west of town.
John's working his way down the document.
Yeah, it's good to have that in there. But as I was thinking, as I traveled to and from Sonoma today, and actually I thought the traveling to and from east and west from us going out to the coast, and our transit corridor, we have 101 fantastic corridor of transport north and south, but we have very poor transport east and west in and out of our town. Really need to work with, I guess, state, county, mostly probably state transport to improve our the access points and travel conditions coming in and out. This road and going over to Sonoma is getting super crowded now. Also, I've gone over there many years now, and it's gotten worse and worse over time. There's a lot of huge lines now waiting to get onto the road now, coming off of 116 through the hills there, and going down and then street or other getting out toward the coast. These are old country roads, and those transport systems are way antiquated for size and shape for the amount of traffic now trapped through them. So besides our 101 corridor improvement that we've been working on for years, I think we need to be somewhere in there. We need to really work on our east-west transit corridors in and out of town and really promote that to the city. So I'm not sure if this is the place to put it in number 10 as an addition to just east side, but also other towns and other areas east and west of us.
Great thoughts. Yeah, it relates here, but also probably in the transportation difference as well. Yeah. That's a great point. A good reminder that yes, we're doing a plan for the city of Petaluma and its kind of legal boundaries. But, look at it in isolation. You got to think about its relationship to the surrounding communities and areas and environment. Thanks for the reminder, John. For those of you who joined us recently, let me put on a screen for a quick orientation. We are in the Values and Guiding Principles room, where we're inviting people to share thoughts, comments, relations to a draft set of pillars of Petaluma or values and guiding principles for the general plan. We'd like to know if we hit the mark, what's missing, anything that should be revised or revisited or elaborated on, anything that's not clear. We invite your thoughts and comments in a variety of ways. People have been sharing some fantastic verbal comments with the group, which has elicited some very creative conversation. Lots of great comments also in chat, which we also welcome and will capture and integrate into our notes. And then we're also encouraging people to follow this link or the link in the chat that Olivia, thank you, keeps putting there. You can go directly to this Conveyo platform. Conveyo is simply a tool that allows us to upload a draft document and allows all of you to click on it anywhere and add a comment. So here's one that someone on Guiding Principle 10, we need council representation on the east side. So that connects the pillar or value related to transparency and governance with this idea of physical and psychological connections across the city. So great comment. And then if you like a comment, you can give it a thumbs up. You can also reply to it and continue the conversation asynchronously online. If you have a verbal comment, we invite you to raise your hand. John, do you have another comment or is that a holdover? Thanks. That's what, don't want to make sure don't miss anybody. So. At the front of this page is an introduction, explains where this all came from and what the purpose is, but then in the body of the document, you've got 14 guiding principles with some supporting comments. At the top with the 4 draft pillars. Again, we're looking at the values and guiding principles. You can get to them. Either through following this tiny URL link or the link directly in the chat. We'd like your thoughts on where we hit the mark or didn't, what's missing, what needs to be revised, what isn't clear, how can we improve these guiding principles as written. We love to hear verbal comments. We're having some great, have had and continue to have some great conversation all evening. We also have fantastic comments in the chat, which we encourage. If you do share comments verbally, Olivia behind the scenes is capturing them in this elaborate Google document. Doing a great job of capturing lots of detail of what people have shared. Or you can leave your comments directly on your own through the Conveyo platform, where you can scroll up and down and through this document, leave comments, read other people's comments, respond to them. Whoops. And let us otherwise know how we did and how we can improve the document. Make sure it reflects what the people of the city of Petaluma would like to see. Distinct urban edge. What does that mean? Planners often need reminders that not everyone speaks planner. So if you see a phrase or terminology that is not clear to you or you're not sure what it means, please put a pin in it and tell us.
A thought that's been rattling around in my head ever since I remember Fisher mentioned it earlier. She specifically, I think she was looking at guideline 12, be a leader within the region and beyond. And she specifically said something about needing to be bold, right? To think even beyond what we could conceive of at that point. And I'm wondering if that strikes me as something that would be wonderful to capture explicitly under this guideline, that we should be exploring frontiers in the pursuit of solving problems, because we have some big problems to solve.
Yeah. As somebody who grew up Star Trek, I appreciate that language. Ooh, take risks. That's a nice concept, right? That's implying what you were just saying, Josh. Amira, please.
Hi, thank you so much for holding this session. This is wonderful. I had a nice meeting with David Garcia recently, who encouraged me to join this meeting. My name is Omera. I'm a parent of 3 children in the public schools here in Petaluma. And I am a huge advocate for arts education and the power of the arts in public schools and for Petaluma and Sonoma County and beyond. And I think it's really important to recognize the power of arts education in public schools as a fundamental guiding principle for community engagement, to really have children be engaged in their education. There are just, you can't, the benefits are really endless, and they totally align with what administrators want to see in their students. Better grades, better social emotional health, better attendance, better success in the workforce. It goes on and on. And as a community that does say that they value the arts, I find it really frustrating that we don't invest in arts education for our students when we know how effective it is. So I wanted to chime in with that. I have a ton of research to back up everything I'm sharing. And if you have any suggestions for me for follow-ups, I'm all ears. But thanks again for your.
Thank you. That was at least two good reminders. I'm not sure the word art shows up in these guiding principles currently, and if it doesn't, that is a significant oversight. And I think that may also be true of education. So we're missing, I think, maybe both those concepts generally, which are critical to, community health, as you pointed out, but then the idea to, the importance of bringing them together in our schools. So thank you for sharing. And one quick note, one advantage of this project, this is probably one of the most comprehensive general updates a community has ever undertaken. So beyond the required subjects that state law mandates that general plan include, the city, as a demonstration of its leadership, has extended the scope of this project to include a range of topics, including culture and the arts. And so to your last point, I remain involved. We're working on a background report designed to kind of take a snapshot of the arts in the community as a foundation for how then culture and the arts get woven into general plan product.
Okay. So I'm also on the advisory board of Creative Sonoma. I don't know if you know of that organization, but we could be helpful in providing that snapshot if you wanted to follow up with that. But I do think the arts in general are such an important piece of, as you said, as the fabric community, when you do have a strong arts presence. And there are so many musicians and artists here, and really wonderful, and there's so much untapped potential. So it's exciting, but if we can partner with the city, there's so many possibilities.
Thank you. One quick note on education. This is a challenge in local community planning, is that in many states, education is managed and planned for apart from local planning. This is just kind of a side note that's related to how, like, the extent to which we can speak to education in the general plan.
Yeah.
We can certainly touch on that topic, but the city fundamentally has little control or authority over educational systems. They certainly collaborate with and do joint planning with the school districts, but that's one challenge of planning, is that even though education is such an integral part of community fabric, it's not built into the planning systems. But I only point that out just to, know that that's a challenge we have that we'll try to tackle as best we can. And it's also a nice reminder that education is not limited to our formal educational systems. I think implied in your comments also was that, art education is everywhere, right? Not just in formal education. It's foundational to the arts and the work the artists do in community and how they contribute. So thank you again for great comments.
Thank you.
I see that we have some new room members. Putting up landing page again for folks who just joined us. This is the Values and Guiding Principles room, where we're encouraging and inviting people to review the draft pillars of Petaluma and draft guiding principles and let us know how we did. Did we hit the mark? Are we missing things? People have already pointed out some very important topics that we have missed so far. And of what's there, what needs to be revised? What isn't clear? What needs to be rethought? What needs to be added to? A lot of great ideas for what needs to be, how we need to supplement these with additional concepts. You can provide comments however you want. We've heard some great verbal comments, which Olivia off screen, but in real life is capturing in fantastic detail. Thank you again, Olivia. I get the benefit of watching those live, but also in the chat, if you'd like to write your thoughts and comments, please do so in the chat and we will integrate those into our notes as well. Or you can follow this link or the link in the chat, the Conveyo link that takes you to this page, which at the top introduces you to the origin and purpose of guiding principles. And then down below in this embedded window, invites you to review the draft document and share your thoughts. You do, and it's really simple. You just click on it wherever you'd like to leave a comment. And that then brings up a comment window. You can type your comment. And you can also see how other people have commented so far. Read it, reply to it if you'd like, or give it a up thumb or a down thumb if you'd like. I'm going to refresh this because I noticed that Conveyo does not do that for me automatically. So I want to make sure I'm seeing the latest comments people have shared. So at the top, you have the 4 pillars of Petaluma, or values or themes or threads that should be reflected throughout the general plan. And then we have 14 evolving guiding principles, each with a short statement describing the essence of that principle, followed by some supporting concepts, which will probably evolve into a short paragraph describing and operating on the principle, but may also very well inform specific policy statements or other strategies in the general plan itself. Eight, Joan, others who've joined us recently, thoughts, comment to share verbally. Raise your hand or just unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Joan Cooper and a citizen for about 35 years. And I'm also one of the founders of Friends of Schollenberger. We've been fighting for over 15 years to stop the building of an asphalt factory on the banks of the river. And what I discovered through this is that there's an amazing coalition of people from both sides of the political spectrum, ages, occupations. People love the city, they love the river, they love Schollenberger Park, and they are flocking here because of those natural assets and historical assets. And so there's pressure to house more people, but there's also those new people don't want the town to change, to deteriorate, let us say, to deteriorate. I don't think they're against change. They like positive change. So I have felt the power of the community to speak when they are, alarmed. The challenge is to get them to speak before they're threatened, to prevent, having an emergency to defend against. So ergo, writing a good general plan. And I said in room number 1, with my experience with trying to stop the privately held Dutra company from building on the river, in a county jurisdictional land, I say that the elected of City Council of Petaluma opposed that project. But the county general plan, had a lot of good verbiage in there that should have protected those 39 acres. And it did not, because these general plans can be manipulated. So there were, so it's a cautionary tale, because we're going to write the best general plan we can for Petaluma. But, who will enforce it? And that's why, citizens have to understand that, when we elect people, they come with their own agendas. And I think that we see currently a lot of building going on in town, and a lot of market rate housing going up, and a lot of congestion in traffic, and people are not, they don't know who approved all this. How did this happen? Well, the elected approved it. The previous city council was very pro development. Well, there's nothing we can do about that now, but we have to build into the general plan some limits on what can be approved, because unfortunately, connections, power, money, these things affect what is approved and not approved. And so you have to have something very strong in the general plan that limits, and we are like way below our goal, our state goal for affordable housing, and almost 1,000 times our goal, our state goal, stated goal for market rate housing. How did that happen? Why? And one thing that I think should go into the general plan is something to do with a ratio of the access to water and building of either housing or other types of development, because water is the biggest issue in California. And if we don't consider access to water, we're going to have a town that, we're fighting over drinking water. So I don't know whether that's appropriate to go into a general plan, in terms of goals of, and limits of housing, et cetera, and building. But I would like to see something in the general plan that limits that. And I would like to see the general plan be, kind of like ironclad. For instance, and this will be the last thing I say, some people in this room may or may not know about the Dutra issue, and I can't go into that because, I know too much about it. But what I learned is that even though the general plan specifically stated there shall be no industrial operations approved in the 100-year floodplain, that was a simple sentence. There will be none. And then there was another simple sentence that was in another section. It said, a goal of the county general plan was to keep the river a working river. And so what happened was the supervisors hung their hat on keep the river a working river. And when Dutra said, well, we're going to bring in our aggregate via barges pulled by tugs, they said, aha, we can rezone this land that was not supposed to be industrial. We'll rezone it to light industrial because we're following our general plan. And then they said, well, it's in the 100-year floodplain, but maybe nobody will notice. Well, we took them to court. We lost in Superior Court. We appealed on exactly that point. They're constructing a factory in the 100-year floodplain. We lost that appeal. Why did we lose the appeal? We were flabbergasted. Dutra's lawyers came with the proposal. We're going to cut and fill in the wetlands. We're going to take fill out of the wetlands and call restoration, and we're going to raise the footprint of the factory so it's above the elevation of a 100-year floodplain. Therefore, it's not in the year floodplain. It's still in the 100-year floodplain. It's less than 100 feet from the river's bank. But we were appalled. How could we lose this? It's clear it was a sleight of hand. What did we learn? Our attorney said, the judges do not like to overturn what the elected have approved. Therefore, be careful who you elect. And that's my final word.
Very articulate, Joan. Thank you. And thank you for that reminder of Civics 101 lesson. And that's an excellent point that I often like to make with folks is, at the end of the day, local legislative bodies have most of the authority in the city lies there, right? They're the ones who adopt the general plan. They're the ones who interpret it when considering specific proposals, development proposals specifically. So that's an excellent point. Excellent point related to what the general plan can and cannot do, right? Great reminder that language is very important. And so the general plan needs to be very specific where the vision is for it to be specific. Like I think that one example you gave of thou shalt not, that's a very directive, controlling policy. And so the city needs to be very thoughtful and strategic about when it uses that sort of language to basically control future decisions, right? Another interesting point that you made relates to the land use map and decisions about annexation and expansion of the urban growth boundary. And I hope you visit room, I think it is the south area of discussion, where you should definitely share your comment, because we're asking specifically about where we might consider, the city might consider among the 4 candidate options for expanding the UGB, where it might do that. And you raise a very interesting point is some cities may choose to expand their urban growth boundary and in their general plan and in their zoning restrict development for the sole purpose of protecting an asset or an area where you don't want it developed. Which is an interesting thought in the context of Petaluma, where you've had a very successful urban growth boundary, but as you pointed out, don't have control immediately outside of that, right?
Well, that's an interesting point, because these 30 acres, the city limits runs through the middle of the Petaluma River. So literally 100 feet from, Schollenberger Park is city property, but the other side of the river is under county jurisdiction. When this whole issue first started, I determined that actually these acres are in the urban growth boundary of Petaluma. So it's like, there are certain things that are unwritten that are a kind of good manners. And the county is really not supposed to jam something into the urban growth boundary of a city if the city doesn't want it in their urban growth boundary. In this case, our supervisor, Mike Kearns, didn't protect, Petaluma, which was in his district. He said, come on in. Oh, he said to me, Joan, the asphalt factory won't hurt the air. You're, overreacting. However, I said, well, why don't we annex this land? It's in our urban growth boundary. Let's take it. And then our city council, which was totally opposed to the factory, could reject the project. But I was told by Pam Torliat that mayors will have to get a majority vote of the landowners of the 39 acres. Correct me if I'm wrong. And she said, we'll never get it because Dutra owns it.
Excellent. You are extremely well-educated, well-researched on this topic. I hope you stay involved, because the lessons you learn from a very specific instance are invaluable as it relates to how this plan comes together. So thank you. Kathy's hand has been raised for a while. She's been very patient. So I do want to give her an opportunity to share her thoughts. Thank you, Kathy.
Oh, no problem. I have my thoughts are related to 2 things. I've been talking in the different rooms about the city's walkability, and that walkability doesn't just mean develop near transit. I've walked this city from one side to the other and everywhere in between. I've had friends come stay with me that say that they've never been in my car because we walk everywhere. So, you know, I live in Midtown, really easy to cross the, you know, pedestrian bridge to get over downtown. But when I want to go to CVS, I have to, on East Washington, I have to crawl through some landscape, walk through the parking lot, and then you can get to, there's like an aisle in the middle that's safe to walk in. Or if I'm going to go to Target, trying to get from Kenilworth to the front door of those stores is definitely a challenge. So I guess low cost in the grand scheme of things, sidewalks, crosswalks, walking path areas through parking lots. I work in fitness, and in the invention of the strip mall goes hand in hand with the obesity epidemic. So making things easier for people to walk. And like I said, it's not just related to being close to SMART. So again, with the obesity epidemic, somebody may buy a house close to SMART, but they'll still drive because they don't have the fitness level to be able to walk. So, so those things, there's no sidewalks on some of the streets downtown, like on First Street or Second Street. I brought up the raised sidewalks in the theater district. Somebody mentioned that they're like that for flood, and they look lovely, rail, but you have to go from one, you have to go to the end of the street. Let's say you get a parking place in the middle, so you go to the end of the sidewalk and then have to walk to your car in the middle of the street. So, you know, maybe putting a stairway in the middle of that, so it cuts down the amount of time that you have to walk in the street for. So just simple ideas like that can improve the walkability, I think are important. And then in terms of just overall development, I just want the city to be really thoughtful about it, and to be not so short-sighted. That I live in town, and in the category of it's all about me. There's supposed to be, they've approved a project across the street from my house on 3-acre lot, the Riverbend project, if you're familiar with it. But the city didn't listen to our concerns about flooding. The developer themselves admitted that the Army Corps of Engineers, the flood mitigation project, could not handle, it wasn't designed to handle the amount of development that's happening along the river and how close to the river it is. So I get that the state requires that we build housing, and I get we have a huge homeless problem, and I want those people to find housing, but I just want to make sure that the city is doing that without putting residents like myself at risk. You know, my neighborhood, there's pictures of my neighborhood with cars, my street with cars submerged, and the street signs there's water up to about a foot below the street sign. I'm lucky enough to not have had to go through that, but a lot of my neighbors have. And no, I don't want 30 houses across the street from me, but I get it. But if it's also going to flood my neighborhood, then that's the problem. So it's just kind of, I feel like the city is, yeah, you scroll to the climate change and sea level rise. They're not paying attention to the impact of that with the development they're choosing. And one of the problems with the area across from me is the proximity to SMART. So we're in that, I think it's 1.5 miles that it's just, you know, people are drooling over being able to develop on that property. But I don't think it's safe. And so there's that piece of it. And then the final thing that I wanted to comment on is there seems to be a disconnect between the environmental emergency that's happened in the city and the amount of development. So I was listening to a new audio afternoon, and in the same news show was a story about the development that needed to happen in California. And then the next story was that there's 23 species that have been added to the extinct list. And it's due to humans not, I guess, interacting with the environment in the right way. So I just, like I said, I feel like there's a disconnect there with the city declaring the climate emergency and protecting the river and the species and all that kind of stuff. And then let's develop on this land and kill off stuff. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
For 25 cents.
No, that was for me, it was a great reminder of why we do this, which is, planners, we understand, we're trained in our various fields, engineering, economics, et cetera. We bring that to a project like this, but we don't have the local knowledge people who live there have. And so this is why we do this, for to hear directly from people who are experiencing the effects of policy, of decision-making. So we truly understand what those are, what those issues are that we need to address them, and can reflect that in the updated plan. So thank you for your very thoughtful comments. Olivia was typing furiously off screen to capture your thoughts.
Oh, okay. And I didn't catch his last name, Emmanuel in the last group wanted me
the note taker, yeah.
Is that who it was? Yeah, he wanted me to post in the vision wall the streets that I've noticed that don't have sidewalks, or places that need crosswalks or stuff like that. So
yeah, also in the areas of discussion rooms, either the north or south, you can leave a comment like that either through the Menti poll, or just
I've been working on that.
Yeah, or just verbally in the breakout room itself. So
okay, cool.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you.
Hey, no, thank you. And Sheila, you've been very patiently waiting. I know you've been listening for a while, so I'm excited to hear your thoughts. Also want to welcome Stacy and family, who I see has joined us. We're planning for your children, so thank you for involving them in this process. Sheila, your thought?
Yes, and first just let me say thank you so much for doing this listening session. It's so important for us. I live here in Petaluma. I'm also a member of the Community Alliance with Family Farmers. And so they had asked me to talk a little bit about some of their issues. And of course, you can contact them directly if you have any follow-up questions. I'm just a volunteer. I go to some of their leadership circle meetings, so I understand a little bit about the issues. And this particular issue is just to remember that when we put together the general plan, to think of our small farmers. And one of the things that comes up is urban fringe farms in the AR and RR zones. And just to note that an urban fringe farm is a farm that your farm, you're looking at the city that surrounds you, but you're still a farm. Technically, you're a farm. And some of the issues that come up to do with the policies that the cities make that may conflict with what's in the. It's important to remember that some of the issues that these small farms can help address are climate change, along with food access and equity for our local community. And where those come together is when you think of vehicle miles traveled. If you can, for example, allow for food processing and farm stands on urban edge farms, cuts down on the vehicle miles traveled, and it allows for the local community to have to food. So that's pretty much the gist of what I wanted to bring up is, again, that I'm a particular group, and there's so much that we feel historically we've added to our community, and going forwards, we don't want to be forgotten. We think we're a very important part of this community. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you very much. You're the second person who has reminded us of the, fundamental role that food, farms, and farmers play in any community, and particularly in Petaluma. So thank you. And just so you know, Olivia was capturing all your comments off screen to supplement the previous food related comments we got. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome, Taryn, John.
Thank
You've joined the Values and Guiding Principles room, where we're inviting people to discuss, share thoughts on verbally in the chat, or go to this link or the link in your chat to see the draft Guiding and Principles yourself in the Conveo platform, which allows you to review this document and put notes on it, as people have done here. Add a comment. You can also read other people's comments and reply or give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And at the top here is an introduction to where these came from, what their purpose is, for some context as well. So there's a link directly to this page in your chat. Thank you, Josh, for joining us. Oh, I see you left already. So Josh is a GPAC member. He and John tonight have been sitting in, helping, providing context, sharing on issues that people are raising that GPAC has also been grappling with. So appreciate that help. Taryn, did you have some comments, thoughts to share?
Hi, thanks. I have a few random thoughts. I'll just kind of run through because this is kind of exhausting bouncing around. Let's see, it's kind of new to me, but okay, so here are a few random things. Number one would be, I know that there's been a lot of pre-planning work done with a certain set of developers, and people are really not happy about that. So wherever it's appropriate, put into the guiding principles that Petalumans have really had it. They're fed up with all this backroom stuff going on with developers. So if we want development, not where developers want to develop, but infill and in distressed like retail properties or distressed industrial properties. A second comment would be being super imaginative. I feel like Petaluma has hit its critical mass. It's exceeded, it's grown too big to sustain that where one city center sustains it. It needs a second city center. And everyone's talked about Corona, but how about doing something really wild, making the city center both the east side of the Corona overpass and the west side of the Corona overpass, expanding the Corona overpass, which is already in the, on the list of things to do, to make it not just for cars, but for pedestrians, for bikes, and also put trees on it and make it something that everyone can walk over, because it's hurting on either side, the east and the west. The businesses there are just barely hanging on, really. Plus, both the east and the west have connectivity via paths along the river on the west and along the train station railroad tracks on the right. So that's one thing. And then another guiding principle, I think, would be thinking about, somebody talks about regeneration all the time, and I ask them, what does that mean? And they say, making sure we have enough food supply locally, and making sure that we're prioritizing doing that sort of a thing. So I just wanted to add that comment. And then a guiding principle of slowing down the traffic that's here. People have been complaining about traffic forever, and there's no improvement. It's too fast, it's too furious. And I'd love for this to be an opportunity for everyone to put on their thinking caps and get super creative. An idea I proposed to the city a couple of years ago, which nobody seemed to think was great, was what they do in Europe. They stencil. It's no cost. You stencil the roads with designs, which are basically holograms, and it forces all the cars to slow down, much like trees do, much like that says painting the curbs do. But why can't we do some of this low-hanging fruit? So it's kind of like we're always looking for development and to make the big developers happy. I'd love for us to, sit down with our paper and crayons and actually walk around and dream and do something that impacts everybody in their everyday lives, walking around, biking around. Thank you.
Thank you, Taryn. Olivia's got all those comments. One quick note, if you haven't yet, related to your comment around Corona, be sure to visit the North Areas of Discussion room, where that area has been identified as an area for discussion, and you can complete the Menti poll, but also share other thoughts in the main room, which will be captured on a map. So if you haven't done that already, please do. But we've got your comments here as well, and we'll make sure they get integrated into the areas of discussion notes as well.
Okay, thanks.
Stacy, welcome again. Like to share a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to, two things. One, I wanted to just on what Taryn was saying with, I could have chat as well, but just the idea of having some other areas in town that can be these little areas for congregating. Right now, when you drive around the east side, you basically have strip malls or big, like a big Kmart shopping center. That's not a place people are going to walk around and go get their coffee and have a cafe and have, community. Really the only place you find that is downtown, and there's a lot of space in other parts of this town that we could really foster that and would make a really pleasant area and all these neighborhoods really attractive, instead of everyone always wanting to flock to these few areas and all the developers wanting to develop in these kind of like hotspot areas. And you really see that in a lot of towns like San Francisco or Portland, where there's lots of little nooks and crannies created all over town instead of everyone flocking to one area. The only other thing that I also wanted to point out, and I talked about the flooding concerns up earlier as well when Kathy was talking, but one of the things I saw in the guiding principles was really kind of embracing us being a river city. And I think we all love the fact that this river right through this town, and it's beautiful. Unfortunately, I don't think we celebrate it at all. Like, there's not really much beautification about it. There's not a lot of ways to enjoy it as a pedestrian. And so I think that that's something that we really should be, instead of trying to put a bunch of apartments and things all along the river, make it, I actually grew up in Boise, Idaho, and it's also, the river goes right through the center of town. And there's a thing called the Green Belt, and it's a river, it's like a pathway that goes the whole length of the river to town, out of town. You can ride your bike, you can roller skate, rollerblade, walk. And it's really amazing, and it's become like a huge value add to the town. So just wanted to put that out there as well. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thanks for that reminder about third places. All neighborhoods, communities need many of them within easy access. And I was looking through, I could have sworn there was an allusion to that somewhere, but I'm not seeing it. So thank you for reminding us. We'll make sure something touches on that point directly. So thank you. Chris, welcome. I was gonna begin to think you're avoiding me. I'm getting so used to having you in every one of my group sessions.
That's why I had to check in.
Thank you for making your way here.
Sure. So I just wanted to follow up on something. I agree with what Stacy said about that there needs to be more gathering spots. And I live over on the east side, and I drive by that Leghorn area like often. And I go, God, there's like the junior college there. There's like the Safeway complex, but there's a park. There's a room around, there's a room around there. And I go, well, could that be developed into something that's a gathering spot, a neighborhood? Could there be, housing over some of the retail in that Leghorn shopping center? But that just seems like there's the potential there. And I have no, I'm not a developer. I don't know how these things happen, but when I drive around, that area just keeps popping up for me. So I just want to put that out there just as one of the guiding principles that I agree, it needs to be more than downtown. We need more neighborhoods in Petaluma. And on the east side, it's really difficult because everything is like so built suburban, but there are pockets that can be taken advantage of. So neighborhoods, guiding principle.
Thank you. You know, it's funny, I was just reviewing the draft white paper on retail earlier this morning. And it makes some very interesting related points. In a nutshell, it's based on its analysis, kind of coming to the conclusion that Petaluma has an opportunity to really rethink the way it has historically integrated retail into the city fabric, and has identified some of the existing retail centers, for lack of a better word, you know, shopping centers, strip malls, et cetera, repurpose them along the lines that you're suggesting there, Chris. Is like, you know, some of their days have come and gone, and they're ready to be something different, right? And one of those obvious options is rethink it, because so many of them are so like centrally located in the heart of many neighborhoods. Rethink them as like another city center or other neighborhood hub, because a lot of them typically lots of parking space, which is an opportunity for supplemental use and development, et cetera. So thank you, both you and Stacy, for making that important point. It is 8:42. Time has flown. I only mention that it's for folks who haven't yet visited other rooms. That's okay. If you want to take the time to do that before the evening is out at 9, we encourage you to do so. But this is by no means your last opportunity. All these online platforms will be available and open and usable for the next 2 weeks through October 13th. So if you're also like me, you go to bed, get up in the morning, and have 10 additional thoughts that you forgot to include somewhere, you can jump right back on the project website and come to any one of these exercises and add additional comments. It's particularly true of this Conveyo platform, where you can jump in anytime over the next 2 weeks, add a comment, react to other people's comments, etc. So.
Hi, Ron, this is Taryn.
Hey.
Can I make another comment since no one's hand is up?
Sure.
For a guiding principle, I think we really need to do transparency, not just transparency in terms of putting citizens before developers and any potential backroom dealing or colluding, which has really been a source of pollution of our town in the past decade. But also, when projects are proposed, they're only noticed within like something like 100 feet or 100 yards. And therefore, you know, people aren't aware of them. And I also think that looking at it in such a small focus invites the developer to not look at kind of cumulative, on paper, they look at cumulative impact, but like even thing like how they orient which way their buildings are facing. Riverbend, they're putting in something like, I don't know, 50 homes there. Ron, they're not even facing the river. I wouldn't want to live in those homes. They're facing a side street, and the other half are facing the other half of the homes. So I don't know how you could build that in there, but really, you know, looking at the context and being transparent about a wider scope of existence than what's on the immediate block. Thank you.
Two very interesting points, Taryn. Thank you. And both actually can be spoken to in a general plan. So the first one, the noticing requirements, meaning those who need to be notified when certain types of development are being considered. The GP can't change those, but it can certainly include a policy that prompts city council to consider that issue, because those are typically in the zoning code when they specify the distance from the development where
Yeah,
neighborhood
thanks. I
property owners.
attended that meeting recently, Ron, and they shot it down. They said, no, we're just gonna keep it as it is. So if you make the and citizens showed up and said, we want more notice. And the city just doesn't think the way you do.
I'm not suggesting that the city does. I'm just saying it's a possibility that it's something that general plan can be addressed. But yes, and the second point also, which is really to a site design or design standard sort of question. Again, the general plan can establish those specific design guidelines in and of itself, but it can certainly include principles and related policies and follow and identify as a necessary follow-on action the refinement of or further development of design guidelines, which then are used to inform the decision-making that goes into approving developments and their site design features.
Okay, one other thing. What about the M group that controls our planning function? They stopped doing runoff analysis for all our development, and you may be aware that FEMA requires that no more than 12 inches of runoff are generated from development between their mappings. Otherwise, every structure within the city gets out of the flood program, the insurance program. They're not doing the flood analysis anymore because it gets in the way of their approving development and, you know, making a 40% bonus on all their development work. Can you put in the development in the general plan that they need to do runoff analysis? They need to have engineers put their professional stamps on analysis because they're approving stuff that doesn't even have an engineer's stamp on it.
Great point. I'm not an environmental planner or engineer, so I can't speak to the specific level of review that you're addressing, and I am not familiar with how the city code addresses that specifically. EPA regulations also make my head spin, so I can't keep track of the details often, but that's a great point. I don't know the background on that particular issue, so I can't really speak to it, but we're counting the next. So thank you.
Okay, thanks again.
Welcome, Veronica.
Hi. Okay, I'm just here. Do you have a little summary?
Yes, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, this is the Vision and Guiding Principles room, where we're inviting people to review and comment on the draft pillars of Petaluma or values that should infuse the general plan and the draft guiding principles, which really should set the direction and themes of the general plan. You can do that however you'd like. You can share comments verbally, and Olivia is capturing those behind the scenes. You can share written comments in the chat if you'd like. We will save all those and integrate them into our notes. Or you can follow this link, the tiny URL link, or the link is also in the chat. The hyperlink goes directly to this page, this Conveyo platform, where at the top you will see a brief introduction to the origin and purpose of the vision and guiding principles, or excuse me, values and guiding principles. And then down below, this tool is really handy. It allows you to read through the draft document and then click on it and leave a comment. And we really want to know what we captured well, where we missed the mark, what's missing, what language isn't clear, any and all thoughts and reactions. And here's a couple of examples. Someone said, we're missing the concept of a strong economy based on local goods. So great, someone pointed out something that we're missing in the current draft of the guiding principles. And also reply to people's sense or give them a vote up or down.
Okay.
One nice thing about these platforms is they'll be available for the next 2 weeks. So I understand, 10 minutes might not be enough to read through them and comment. So you can come back to this same website and web page over the next 2 weeks and read it more thoroughly and add additional comments.
Yeah, I think I already gave my comment before in the previous GPAC meeting, but essentially I think we need to think about one main pillars as being, because of climate change, because of our environmental breakdown, we are absolutely need to make design and whole systems thinking as one of our key pillars. Because if we don't have that, we're going to continue to just respond and react to things rather than making sure that we have to be adaptable, but the way that the American planning process has been designed is it's very siloed. So we need to look at, what is the intersection of, it's not just using our natural lands and mitigating stuff, it's figuring out how are we going to fight climate change. So it's looking at a regenerative, not sustainable. It's looking at our carbon neutrality goals and understanding that we're not going to become carbon neutral unless we change the construct. We no longer have any more time to just carry on as we have. So we have to look at how can we become regenerative, not sustainable. Regenerative will mean that we need to have more of a circular process. So it's not figuring out where we're going to build and then figuring out what we're going to mitigate. It's figuring out what resources we have, ecological resources, wildlife corridors, biodiversity, and that will impact on our climate, our ability to respond to climate change. So I think I'll probably best come in and put those down, but I feel like the 4 pillars, the 2 could be combined. I think collaborative government is more important than transparent, because if we're talking about equity, collaboration is very important in equity. We can talk about equity as a concept, but it does no good if we can't employ it in a practical way to respond to what people are actually thinking. So it's equity and justice and participatory decision making. I would change that to say collaborative government, because we can no longer, again, whole systems thinking, we can no longer afford to look at things in a siloed way. So transportation has to talk to planning. Planning has to talk to economics. All of those have to talk to the community. What is design? What is going to happen in our city? What is it going to look like? We can't just allow the people who own the land to determine what our city is going to look like. We have to stop that. Our land use patterns have been sprawl, 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 and we can't afford that anymore. We need to design everything, every single solitary piece of space that's left. We have to really plan wisely. So that's my 2 cents.
Excellent, thank you. If you haven't already, or come back to the document, be sure to look at number 8, where it integrates that idea of regeneration, and several people have made some thoughtful comments already. So be sure to take a look at that and let us know how well you think we captured the idea. Some of these comments relate to the fact that they're not sure what it means. Maybe we need to do more reading, which is great input. So please do look at this when you come back to it.
I will definitely. Are the comments going to be available there too, or is it?
Yeah. So when you look at what other people have commented, you can reply. You can give them an up thumb, down thumb.
Yes. So I feel like if we had to look at our 4 pillars, like if we're looking at our future, our sustainability is just not going to get us where we need to go. And then the fact that nowhere in our values or our, what are we calling them, the pillars, that we are focused on our natural systems. We are on a river. It's like, it's curious to me that the pillars of Petaluma, nowhere in there are our natural systems and how we're going to work with those natural systems. I think that is a huge gap.
Yeah, great comment. So please also look at number 3, which speaks a whole lot to natural systems, and then 4, which speaks to the river specifically. And you know, part of our challenge here is we try to, in the pillars, kind of capture some double themes that are cross-cutting, and then in the guiding principles, elaborate on things a bit more specifically. It's often a difficult, you know.
Well, maybe like an ecologically forward, well-designed is maybe one of the pillars.
Yeah, no, excellent comments. We've heard a lot of great thoughts on what should be a pillar, what should be a principle. So thank you. I'm just going to point out for the group, there are 5 minutes remaining in this particular session. Want to emphasize though that this is not your last chance. All of these online tools are going to be available for the next 2 weeks through October 13th. So if 2.5 hours was not enough time for you to share your thoughts and respond to the materials we prepared tonight, please feel free to jump back online through the planpetaluma.org website and additional comments. I think that's particularly true for this exercise where we're asking you to read and review a multi-page document and give us thoughts. So please do take the time afterwards.
Can you repeat that website address? Is it plain or planned?
I can absolutely do that. Thank you. planpetaluma.org. Go to that just main page. There is a link at the very top of the page that takes you to all these materials, and where you can do all the exercise, or you can use this link and go directly to the Conveo page with the guiding principles on it.
Yeah, the links don't work.
So if that link isn't working for you, I'm not sure why, but there's a direct link in the chat as well if you want to look at it right now.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just typing it in.
Yeah, some browsers handle copy paste from something like this a little oddly. Yeah, John, I see your hand, or Phil, excuse me. And then Jerry.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it, all this. I just want to point out, I think it's important to celebrate Petaluma, the first city in the nation to have an urban growth boundary. I definitely do not think we are a sprawling city. Sonoma County, I believe, has urban growth boundaries throughout every jurisdiction in the county. So I think we're a fine example from perfect, but a fine example of a city and a region that is growing wisely and well, and I do not think we're an example of sprawl.
Thank you. Yeah, we tried to capture much of that idea in item 3 there, so let us know how we did. You know, it's a real privilege working as a planner in a city that you learn and read about in your planning education. To your point about Petaluma being one of the first on several fronts. I saw another hand, but did it go down? Jerry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. Under number 4, I believe it is, revitalize the trestle. I thought I saw it. Oh, there it is. Yeah, the third from the bottom. Expand connectivity along and across the river, including restoration of. What? Forgive me for this, but what is the purpose of restoration of the trestle? What is the goal in
that? And that's why it's with that particular bullet, which is about connectivity along and across the river. So people, and I believe the plan, the River Access and Enhancement Plan, speaks to the benefits of using that old trestle as a pedestrian and bike pathway of sorts, for lack of a better term, that goes up and down the shoreline and then connects both at the pedestrian bridge as well as each of the other crossings, as a means to really make it easy to move up and down the river for mobility or for recreational purposes. Many of the businesses have begun to use it as an asset and face towards the trestle and the river. So it creates economic opportunity as well. So that's the basic idea as I understand it.
Okay, so when I think trestle, I'm thinking directly from Water Street to, I believe it's B or C, a real short distance.
Yeah, it doesn't go a great distance currently.
Okay. All right.
Bill, did you have something to add there?
I'll just give you my personal opinion, Jerry. Here 25 years, the trestle is a fascinating historic structure, and it's in really bad shape, and it's going to fall down pretty soon. And it's a door, and it's just, and so, you know, we can get rid of it, or we can rebuild it and turn it into an incredible asset. It's going to be very expensive, and it's going to cause, you know, going to take very tricky environmental way to do it environmentally. Correct is going to be a challenge, but I think that's my goal for the trestle.
Thank you. You know what, my computer just freaked out, and I think I lost the ability to unshare. If you're seeing my screen anymore,
no, we don't.
At least it sounds like you can at least hear me, but maybe that was the technological gods telling us it's 9 o'clock and it's time to go. But I do very much appreciate everyone's incredibly thoughtful comments that they shared verbally in the chat and on the Conveyo platform. Really appreciate how involved and what a strong sense of pride and ownership people feel for their city here, and their willingness to come out and share their vision and passion and ideas. So thank you all very much. Please continue to stay involved and add your comments over the next couple of weeks if you didn't get them all in.
Recording in progress.
That this is going to be open, and we're going to be sending out messages to invite people who couldn't join us tonight to participate in all these exercises.
That's really great. So is it just go into planpetaluma.org and then go to get involved and then go to the visioning workshop? Is that kind of where they need to go?
Yeah, we have to reframe it a little bit because we have to transition from doing this to having it be asynchronous so people don't get confused about going to rooms. But we'll have a link at the top of the general plan website shortly.
Okay, that's good. Good to know. So it's until the October 13th, you said?
It'd be 2 weeks. I forget exactly.
That's right. Yeah, it's October 13th.
God, how did I remember that?
Well done.
Hey everyone, can I give a quick little closing in Spanish? We were just wrapping up. Bueno, mucho gusto y muchas gracias a todos los que participaron con nosotros en el grupo en español. Lo pasamos muy bien y pues les damos bienvenida a seguir participando en todos los encuentros que hacemos en esta actualización del plan general. Pueden seguir en contacto a través del sitio web y también vamos a seguir contactándolos a través de nuestro compañero Abraham Soler, que también invitó a muchos. Entonces, muchísimas gracias por todas sus aportaciones. Thank you to everyone, and we'll keep in touch.
Gracias, David. Gracias, David.
Gracias. Good night, everyone. Thank you all for your efforts and time, and yay.
Thank you. Thank you all for being troopers and make all the way to the end of the meeting. This was meant as a kind of choose your own adventure guide, and participants joined us throughout the evening and went on their way, and you all get the gold star for sticking out until 9 o'clock. But we want to thank you so much again for spending the evening with us. Peggy, your team, I don't know if you had any closing thoughts, but as Christina was mentioning, all this information will be up on planpetaluma.org for the next 2 weeks, so please share it with your neighbors and let them know to give us feedback if they weren't able to join us tonight, and stay tuned for a summary of all the great feedback that we got tonight.
Thanks, Dave. Just an inspirational evening, great foundation. And if you have more thoughts, get on the web and give us your ideas. So thanks so much. And thanks to the staff. Thanks, team. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Bye. Good
Gracias.
night.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Gracias.
I need some support with how to close out the recording in room 3. I just got moved back into this room and I don't know where that went.
The recording should stay stable. So if you're in room 3 and then you come here, it'll just keep recording in whatever room you're in.
It should automatically download onto your record onto your computer.
That's right.
You then just have to find where it is. That's usually the trick.
Okay. You're good, Olivia. It will splice out whatever we don't need, but it was all just for a resource, so we're fine. It'll end up in your documents folder. Yeah, and once we close the meeting right now, it's going to start to convert into the MP4 video.
But it's a good question, Olivia. I heard at a DRC meeting recently and they're waiting for it. And I'm like, I don't know where it is. So it's a true conundrum.
Okay. Another
I'll look
important
for
point
that.
there. Yeah, be sure to leave your computer running until it's completed the download though. So